Oh, that's real good.
My stuff is skipping.
You're here, Roxanne. It's okay.
I'm here, but is my Wi-Fi all right? Can you guys hear me okay and stuff?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Jorge?
Is it skippy or anything?
No, you're good.
That
You are
intro was
chilling.
totally like skipped forward and then came back. I'm like, all right.
No, you're chilling. We're live.
How's everybody this week? How'd you
Doing
do last
great.
week?
Thank you very much for covering for me last weekend. I was out of town for a conference in Florida, and very kind for Hollywood Titan to jump on and join Nate and you all. And I'm glad to be back this week.
Yeah,
Glad
you
to
did a
have you
great
back.
job.
Thank you.
Last week was solid. One bad loss, but overall, from an IDP standpoint, we'll get to it. I had a good week on this show.
Very nice.
Yeah, I had a great
All
week.
I love it.
Well, we're here to talk about all that, and we hope everybody is down with IDP because here we play defense. I'm your host, Roxanne, and on the right is Joe Zollo. Joining Joe and myself is FIF contributor Jorge Edwards.
How you doing? Doing great.
Where do you live normally?
I'm outside of DC.
Oh, so Florida was nice for you then.
Oh yeah, humid but nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. First, we're going to do some news, and I actually just saw the JPP news myself on my way home from work.
Yeah, he has officially signed with the Ravens.
He has?
Officially signed. Well, that's the text that he sent to, I believe, Josina Anderson, and Blake Martinez is visiting the Baltimore Ravens. So JPP officially signs, Martinez visiting. I don't know why they would. I mean, I'm not saying a team doesn't need Blake Martinez, but I don't know why they would need Blake Martinez personally. I don't.
So I think the answer for that is you look at Patrick Queen's tackle rate and his efficiency, and most importantly, his missed tackle rate last year. Very inefficient as an inside linebacker, a better pass rusher, coincidentally, than an inside linebacker. So bringing on Martinez, I think, is just a clear sign like help. We need help in the middle.
Yeah, and that's very fair.
I hate to have a Patrick Queen jersey.
No, don't give up faith just yet. You never know.
Queen, everyone thought he was a steal. I mean, he had a good rookie year, but the oversight there was the missed tackles and the amount that he had. So,
well, I'll tell you what, if you have Blake Martinez on your waiver wire, I would pick him up ASAP. I see him being somebody that could just jump in to this linebacking core for the Ravens and just go straight solo tackle crazy versus a JPP who will probably need some time to work himself into a rotation. So if you're looking for that immediate impact play, I think Blake Martinez, again, if he ends up signing with Baltimore, I think is in the, I was talking with Nate about this the other day. If this happens, this is like the most perfect landing spot for Blake Martinez. So it's going to be interesting to see
100%.
What happens in the next couple of days.
Joe, anything else on that?
Nope, that's everything.
We're moving on to Jamal Adams then.
Bye. See you. Done for the year.
Again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just can't. I mean, I was about to say he can't catch a break, but no, he can catch a break and a tear and a pull and all sorts of things to get him knocked out for the season. So
whatever you want him to catch,
or not want him to catch.
Or not catch. But yeah, he's done.
Aiden Hutchinson did not practice today.
That's big.
Yeah, that is very big. I'm kind of all on board the Charles Harris train this week. He was very productive last year as an edge rusher for the Detroit Lions. Now this year he's been solid. He's been solid as an edge rusher. He's been solid in terms of fantasy point production. If we're looking at Fantasy Pro scoring, and now you have Aiden Hutchinson, who may be either limited on Sunday or may not be playing at all. Which kind of, I hope he plays, but I hope he's limited. Because I think offenses will still key to Hutchinson, which will free up Charles Harris. If Charles Harris is just a one-man show there, then I think you're going to see the Vikings kind of like shift their protection a little bit more to his side. But, as we say with offense, volume is king, and that's the same thing for IDP. Even though they may shift their attention to Harris, I still think he's going to get his and put up a good fantasy point day for you.
3-sack performance was legit So
Right.
3-sack performance was legit.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
impressive by all means. Bud Dupree also did not practice today. Big deal.
Whatever. Who cares?
Okay.
What can I think the question is, what can actually go right for the Tennessee Titans? Like, offense isn't going right and defense isn't going right. You're losing people left and right. If I say right one more time, I'm going to smack myself.
They could trade Ryan Tannehill. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
We have to lose at this point. Very clearly Malik Willis is not comfortable sitting in a pocket, and if his first read's not there, he's taking off. That was very apparent when he was in the game. So give him the chance to fail and set him up better for year 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's even though he tried scrambling the other night and Matt Milano said, "Hello, welcome to the NFL, rookie."
Right.
He kind of laid the wood there. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, something has to go. And here's the thing. I'm trying not to overreact too much to Tennessee, even though we're 2 weeks in and they've looked atrocious. Because let's not forget, they were the number 1 seed in the AFC last year for a reason. And that's without having Derrick Henry for a majority of the season. So now they have those pieces back. Yes, they don't have A.J. Brown anymore, but they do have some competent wide receivers in Robert Woods and the veteran Traylon Burks. They brought in Austin Hooper at tight end, who, again, not setting the world on fire, but reliable pass-catching options. And for some reason, this isn't working for Tannehill, and he's putting his defense in a huge bind. And all these defensive players are just in a bad spot. The one person who is somebody that I will always roster and always try to get in my drafts is Kevin Byard. But he's one of those people that he's great. He's getting tons of volume, but man, there's only so much a human being could actually produce on the field before you start depreciating in value there, and it just sucks. It sucks as a whole if you're a Titans fan.
Their overall defense is garbage. So thanks for playing, Tennessee. Your season's over.
Just give it up. It's over.
Literally, that's not a joke.
Jadeveon Clowney not playing tonight.
Yeah, who cares?
That's
exactly. Joe's like, no, whatever. Doesn't really affect me. Is it not the Patriots? No, I'm fine. No, it's cool.
No, it's not. He can't rush the passer. He can't.
No, he is not a great. I 100% agree with you. He is not a great pass rusher. What he is good at, though, is run stopping. And so if I'm a Najee Harris manager who's been slightly disappointed, quote unquote, slightly this season, this screams of a Najee Harris go-off game against Cleveland, because now you're also facing a Browns team with a Myles Garrett, who, of course, you have Myles Garrett on your IDP roster. You're starting him. There's no, you can't rationalize to me a reason why you would not start Myles Garrett. You can rationalize to me, however, you may not get top elite performance from him this week just because he is nursing, I think, a groin injury, or at least had the groin injury for part of the week, return to the practice and or drills yesterday. So he is cleared to play. He is going to play tonight. And the Steelers' offensive line is still garbage, for being nicely putting it. But going back to Clowney, that's a big loss for the Browns in the running game against the Steelers.
It's a huge loss in the running game, but every defense is good against the run against Pittsburgh because their offensive line sucks. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're going to be totally fine. Obviously Najee now has a better chance, but I don't think he has much of a better chance. So Clowney's irrelevant.
So let's put the two side bets between you and I here, Joe. Najee Harris under 2 touchdowns tonight.
Under 2 touchdowns.
Myles Garrett over/under 1 sack tonight.
Over.
Okay, let's keep track of that and let's see how this performs next week.
What was Myles Garrett? Tell me again.
Over 1 sack.
Over
Najee under 2 touchdowns. Guaranteed. The Najee one I'm more confident in than I am. No, is this rushing touchdowns, correct?
Rushing touchdowns, yes.
Okay. 100% under 2.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I can push it too, which is great. So we're chilling.
That's true.
Yeah, I can push it too.
Did I skip Harrison Smith?
Yeah.
I thought so.
No, he's in the concussion protocol. We don't know what's going to happen, which sucks because if whoever is taking, pardon me, I don't remember off the top of my head his backup here, but thank you very much, the rookie this year who was drafted. Yeah, whoever's in there, that strong safety position, they're going to have a field day. I think IDP managers as a whole are going to have a field day, especially the linebackers and then the strong safety for the Vikings. Pass rushers may slightly disappoint you just because, yes, you have Zadarius Smith. Yes, you have Danielle Hunter, but you also have a pretty solid, underrated Detroit Lions offensive line. So again, kind of like tempering those expectations, kind of like what you saw on Monday Night Football. I was expecting this to be a Danielle Hunter, Zadarius Smith tandem coming out party here against the Eagles, but the Eagles offensive line is just way too good to allow any pressures to get to Jalen Hurts. And then when they did get to Jalen Hurts just ran away. So while you're not going to see Jared Goff run away, I still think you're going to see some opposition from this Lions offensive line and give Zadarius Smith and or Danielle Hunter some fits. But the way this game is shaping up to be a high-scoring game, that's great for the linebackers. That's great for the safeties. That's great for the cornerbacks because it's going to be a high-passing volume game. You know they're going to want to get Dalvin Cook going, which is great for those outside linebackers and those inside linebackers. And it's going to be a tackling machine extravaganza this weekend with that game. I hope. As much as I'm hyping it up, I hope. Yeah.
Do we have any questions, Joe?
It's an offense question. I'm answering it in the chat right now. So we don't have any defense questions. We're good.
All right. So we are going to first George's picks for this week or last week. Do we have your answers for last week?
Yep. I have them right here. So so last week, even though I wasn't here, I was
okay. Here's week 2. Okay.
Yeah. So I still submitted some picks here that I was pretty confident in, and I guess going forward we're going to be assigning like win-loss record to like who got the pick right, who got the pick incorrect for the week. But I guess we haven't really like delineated what is a win, what is a loss. So I guess for this week we'll not call it a win-loss thing, but going next week and going forward between Nate and myself and Joe, I think we'll have a better idea of what we're considering a win or loss. That being said,
it's they perform over projected is a win.
That works for me.
Sure.
Okay, boom. There we go. I love it. Perfect.
There you go.
Thank you, Roxanne.
Easy.
Yeah. So going with my pick for the week for defensive line / edge rusher, I picked Rashawn Gary. He finished Fantasy Pros as the DL22 and the LB31. I wasn't expecting him to be an top LB performer. I was expecting him to be an LB2 for you, or DL2, excuse me, last week against the Chicago Bears because it's the Bears. He got you 12 fantasy points. That being said, defensive line for fantasy is really hard to really get a home run on, just because of the amount of rotations you're seeing along the defensive lines around the NFL. And, it's depending on your scoring. You could have a scoring setting where it's like a quarterback hit, gets you 2 points, or a lack of a quarterback hit gets you no points. And so it just takes, the stat officiating crew at a football game to see a person lay a finger on them. And it's like, ooh, that's a quarterback hit. You get 2 points, So, but that being said, I knew the pressure was going to get to Justin Fields, and at least I was hoping that was going to be the case. And it turned out to be, pretty spot on. So,
yeah.
And this week you're picking Greg Russo.
Let me tell you, every single pass rusher who attended Von Miller's pass rushing academy camp, whatever it's officially called this offseason, is basically become like, I don't want to say Von Miller 2.0, but like 4.0, 5.0, and so on and so forth down the line. And Russo has been having such a fantastic start to this season. He's going to be going up against Greg Little of the Miami Dolphins. Gives up some pressures, Greg Little, and is not really one of the best graded offensive linemen at right tackle, according to Pro Football Focus. So there are a lot of negatives going in his way and a lot of positive going in Russo's way. Von Miller is going to draw a lot of attention because it's Von Miller, So I think you're going to see a lot of production from Russo this week. Definitely a sack, maybe 2, but I'm definitely confident he's going to get you a sack this week. And then whatever tackle upside he possesses there, I think you're going to get it.
Nice.
So go ahead.
I said I like it. And plus I love Von, he was a Denver Bronco.
Oh, sure.
I have Von Miller socks and jerseys and fat head. And
Well, he was a Super Bowl MVP. I mean, a lot of people.
I love him.
People forget that. People forget how dominant he not only is, but was. Back when he was with Denver and the yeah, he's fantastic.
Vic Fangio ruined him.
Worst offense to ever win the Super Bowl. Denver Broncos, Super Bowl 50.
Mm-hmm.
Was it just me? I mean, I'm sure we were all disappointed if you're an offense fan, but like the only thing you saw Peyton Manning throw was a 2-point conversion in that Super Bowl. Like, couldn't have been a touchdown. Couldn't have been something at least to sign off. Right off into the sunset with. I don't know. That's just
there was a point where we just had to be happy that we were going to win. And all right, Vaughn took control of the game, and the defense did what they had to do.
Yeah, his Super Bowl moment, I think, was that AFC Championship against the Patriots, where you saw him like run for a first down. And I remember watching one of those behind the scenes shows where they were like looking at players' reactions on the sideline, and DeMarcus Ware was like, "Man, Peyton Manning just ran for that first down. He wants this. It's time for the defense to step up," and they did, obviously.
Yeah.
But anyhow, going to linebacker from last week, Pete Werner, second-year player out of Ohio State, I believe. This was a little disappointing for me. He came in as the LB29 in fantasy points, only got you LB29 in fantasy points, only got you 12 according to Fantasy Pro scoring. I was expecting a lot from him and DeMario Davis. So I love DeMario Davis. First of all, if you mention him at all, I know they say on Twitter, don't mention the players, don't at the players. That's like you're being mean or you're saying something negative. If you have something like positive to say, by all means, like I'm not one of those people who's going to shy away from it, because people like DeMario Davis, that he often likes your tweets, or he'll retweet, or he'll comment on your tweet. He's like one of those really awesome players that just likes to interact with his fans. And, him and Pete Werner have been quite the tandem. Werner, consistent, not a high ceiling, but consistent. Now, this is 2 weeks in. We all are still excited with the start of the season. We want that splash play. We want that big name. We want that, all that. But eventually we're going to have to settle into, an area of the timing of the season where consistency matters. And so Pete Werner, I hope he gets better, but that was definitely, if we want to take a loss, I'll call that a loss. I thought he would perform a lot better last week. Then Tanaloa Hufanga. I feel like every time I see him play on the field, I scream out his last name. Hufanga finishes the DB 26, 13.8 points in Fantasy Pros IDP scoring. I didn't really know what to expect other than the snaps percentages were going to be in his favor, and he was going to go and basically take over that strong safety position. He had a great week one. I think he had like 8 total tackles, I think, that week. This was a pure upside play, knowing the fact that they're going against the Seattle Seahawks, who are a very run heavy team without any passing. You see DK Metcalf, look at DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf got you 44.6 points in half PPR scoring. Mm-hmm. I don't know the exact number. I'm just trying to emphasize that the passing game's not there. Right. And Hufanga, they tried to get Rashad Penny going. That didn't work. And he likes to crowd the line of scrimmage. I think a lot of his snaps are in the box, aka close to the line of scrimmage. That helped his tackle upside, and I was surprised by that. I don't know. That's like a tweener for me. Win, loss, okay, I'll take it. So that's what I had last week. This week is somebody who I think has not gotten a lot of the respect that he's been deserving of the past few seasons, and that's Donovan Wilson, safety, quote unquote strong safety of the Dallas Cowboys, going against the New York Giants on Monday Night Football. Likes to crowd the line of scrimmage, gets plenty of tackle upside. Last I checked, the Giants have basically one offensive weapon by the name of Saquon Barkley. They're going to need him to do a lot, which means they're going to crowd the line of scrimmage, which means Donovan Wilson is going to have a field day and have tackle upside for you, solo tackle upside, which is more important because you have you normally traditionally get more points for solo tackles than you do assisted tackles, for those who are not privy to that information. Just lining up to have him have a great week this week. So those are my picks for week 3.
I like that Wilson pick a lot.
Thank you,
Joe. You get
I'm excited. I mean, if you look at what I did last week,
I'm looking at what you did last week.
Yeah,
this is pretty impressive. This is pretty impressive, man. I gotta be honest with you.
Let's bring this up. So, shout out to the dude who was in our chat talking about course, my video camera just goes out for 2 seconds right there. The dude was Andrew Thomas, the left tackle for the Giants, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Dang, it was really cool when he didn't allow a sack up until the point Brian Burns got a sack on him. That was fun. Andrew Thomas is bad, and I stand by that statement. Brian Burns was my pick. He ended up defensive lineman 4 in Fantasy Pros, scoring 2 sacks, I believe. One of them might have been a half a sack. I think they might have readjusted it, but had an absolute day against the Giants. My pick this week, Quinnen Williams against Cincy. He's the only New York Jet defensive lineman that continually gets like snap count. Overall, the snap count for defensive linemen, and I know Josh is here and he's going to hate that I'm talking about like snap counts and things like that.
It's important to us.
It's
Opportunity matters.
Exactly.
It is to me, it is 100% relevant in defense, and only on the defensive line and linebackers. DBs, I could really care less about. Like, you're mostly only playing starters. Like, you're not playing a nickel cornerback. We don't need to worry about that.
Right.
But like for a defensive line, if you're in the field 80% of the time, you're literally within 3 feet of the football on every play. So like, that's why it matters so much. And looking at the Jets defensive linemen, overall, Quinnen Williams has had the best snap count of all of them, and it's 60%. Like you brought up, Jorge, how much that they are interchanging on defensive lines now. Right. The highest snap count percentage through 2 weeks for the Jets is 60% for Quinnen Williams. That's nuts. That's nothing. Ridiculous. Yeah, that's if a guy like Vince Wilfork, a guy like Aaron Donald looks at those numbers, they'd be like, really? They would have some choice words for a guy like that. But I think Quinnen Williams is gonna have a good week. Might find himself a sack. But I mostly see him being kind of a tackle monster. But God, the Bengals' offensive line is just terrible.
God. It's just the worst ever. It's so bad.
Yeah.
You know what I like about this pick is that he's been such a steady presence, like you've been alluding to, on that defensive line for the Jets, but he's producing for fantasy as a defensive tackle, which is crazy because I normally associate fantasy success with defensive ends, not necessarily defensive tackles. You get those generational players like a la an Aaron Donald, like you mentioned, but no, solid pick, man. Love it.
Yeah. Last week at linebacker, it was a swing and a miss. The whole Denver Broncos offense was a swing and a miss outside of Cortland Sutton.
Watch what you say. It's fragile here right now. We are very fragile.
Let's ride, Roxanne.
Well, when your own fans are counting down the play clock out loud in the stadium. How
embarrassing is that? How embarrassing is that?
I hope they carry it over to Sunday Night Football. And the first play that they're out there, they are counting. Oh, God. Denver fans, please continue to do that. It is the funniest thing I've ever seen. But I had Alex Singleton, linebacker 57. That whole game was awful. That whole game was just terrible. This week, I went with Mac Wilson against Baltimore. And I was hesitant because I was like, I didn't really see a lot of him in week 1, which, for the record, is very true. In week 1, I have my defensive lineman pulled up, but Raekwon McMillan at the linebacker position had 70% of the snaps at linebacker for the Patriots, which is a lot. Matt Judon is roped into this list as well. We know he's an edge rusher. He's roped into the linebacker snap count. We're not focusing on Matt Judon. So focusing on the guys in the middle, you have Tavai, 25%. McMillan had 70 in week 1, 20% in week 2. Not really sure the difference in what happened there. Mac Wilson went from 35 to 64. He's actually the only linebacker outside of Anthony Jennings whose snap count went up from week 1 to week 2, and it went up and almost doubled. So I like Mac Wilson. Obviously a very run-heavy offense, in the Baltimore Ravens, especially if Dobbins comes back this week. So I'm hoping that is going to equate and turn into a lot of tackles. And also Wilson caused an interception too. So if you get points off a pass deflection, that was some points for yourself as well last week. So that one's probably my biggest reach of all these.
Okay.
And then, God, I am so happy on this guy. And I looked back at my top 10 to see if I had him in my top 10 before the season. I didn't, but I know I was consistently drafting him and telling people that this guy is going to be good because he was really good in New Orleans. Marcus Williams was the DB1, and he was the guy I told you to play last week. I picked up Marcus Williams in Dynasty, and I'm going to bring up my brother's comment, and it is explicit, but he said, fuck Marcus Williams and Joe for somehow beating me by 4 in Dynasty. I benched Jesse Bates, picked up Marcus Williams. Williams put up like a 30 spot in that league. So he's out there, and I guarantee you he's probably out there right now in leagues, which is crazy to say, but he might be out there in your league, especially in smaller leagues, like 10-team leagues. I can guarantee you right now, unless you have a Ravens fan, nobody drafted Marcus Williams. I didn't even draft Marcus Williams. I have Derwin James and Jeremy Chin. So I was like, oh, I'm chilling. I don't need Marcus Williams. So in smaller leagues, you can still get him. And he is a play every week. He'll get another interception this week. He's playing Mac Jones. Mac Jones can't read a safety. He's going to get another interception this week.
Oh,
So, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
What's crazy about Marcus Williams when you really dig into his usage is that he's playing more at in coverage than he is playing at the line of scrimmage, which is amazing. Well, it's not uncommon. He's a free safety, so obviously he's going to be floating more in coverage. But the fact that he's getting all these tackles, that he's getting these big plays, it makes me wonder how consistent he's going to be if he's not going to be a player who's going to be crowding the line of scrimmage. If they do bring on a Blake Martinez, for example, as we were talking about earlier, well, then there's less of a need for these defensive backs to go and play closer to the line of scrimmage, and therefore they're playing more in coverage. So that gives me some concern for Marcus Williams in terms of his long-term dynasty outlook. But for redraft, in those leagues that you're talking about, 10, 12-team leagues, ride this person until they stop producing and enjoy the wins and the fantasy points because, defensive backs are players that you can kind of, I don't want to say they're the most well, I will say it. They're probably the most streamable position in IDP. So for those redraft leagues, yeah, I 100% agree with you. In all the leagues I'm in, he was available and nobody was going after him. Nobody knew who he was. Yeah, solid. That was a solid pick. Back-to-back weeks, so he's been dominating. So that was pretty sweet, dude.
Oh, easy, yeah. And proud Papa moment, Josh drafted Marcus Williams in the IDP Guys Invitational.
Nice.
Yeah, Josh, guess who else has him in the IDP Invitational? What's up, baby? I have him, and we'll get to who I picked as my avoid last week. Another home run. But Eddie Jackson is my week 3 pick at the defensive back. I was looking through matchups. He's been like just solid so far through 2 weeks. No blow-ups, nothing crazy. But against Houston, he's at home in Chicago. Feel really good about that matchup as a whole. So I like Eddie Jackson. Maybe for an interception with a young quarterback playing in Chicago. The wind could get to Davis Mills. I don't really know. But I do think Eddie Jackson has a solid opportunity to make some really good plays, which is why I like him this week. So
I think what's benefited Eddie Jackson at least this past week is that he's been on the field a lot. He's been on the team that's on the receiving end of a butt whooping, and therefore he's been having to be on the field a lot and play a little bit more. What I did find interesting is I dove through some of the numbers, and Ryan Seitzman, aka the IDP Guru at idpguru.com, has a great chart that I kind of converted to fantasy point scoring. And he broke down all the different positions in defense and talking about like the teams as a whole who's surrendering the most fantasy points to a position. And Houston is ranked 30th in terms of points allowed to the safety position. So it really depends. You got 2 bad teams going against each other. Like, which bad team do you have more faith in? If you have more faith in the Texans, then yeah, I 100%. I'm like, yeah, Eddie Jackson's going to get that interception you just talked about. But if it starts swinging the other way, I don't know. I think in that case, you're seeing more of a Jaquan Brisker at strong safety who plays definitely closer to the line of scrimmage, maybe has more of the upside than than Eddie does this week. But it's you don't know until you don't know. And it's hard with two bad teams to know who's going to dominate the other. That would be my only concern. But yeah, no, he's been tearing it up the past couple weeks.
Where are we at?
We are at lowered expectations. I'm handling all these offense questions.
We still don't have questions?
They're all offense. I don't want to bring up offense questions. I'm
understand.
answering them all in the chat for these guys. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. So Jorge's pick for this, you didn't pick last week?
No, I just did the upside picks, the other picks.
Oh, yeah. So go ahead with your this week's pick then.
So his name is Frank. The person who I do not have lowered expectations for, I have high expectations for, is Frankie Louvu. His counterpart, Shaq Thompson, is the person that I have low expectations for. He's, both him and Louvu have been playing decently, quote unquote. New Orleans is giving up the most fantasy points and fantasy pro scoring to the inside linebacker position. Great. I think that benefits more Louvu than it does Thompson, just because Thompson is more of a coverage linebacker. He's fast. He had to go track down Saquon Barkley last week. Like, that was his job. Stop the pass catching back. Stop the playmaker, the dynamic player on offense. That's where Shaq Thompson gets his bread and butter for. I don't know whether or not you're going to see that same usage or necessity for him to go play. Yes, they have Alvin Kamara, and we still don't know if Alvin Kamara is going to be playing or not. He was limited, I believe, earlier in the week. Even if he is playing, you have to look at this offense as a whole for the Saints. They have a quarterback who can push the ball down the field. They have receiving weapons that can make plays down the field. Will they have to just dump it off to Kamara and let him kind of like take over the game that way? I don't think they do, to be honest with you. In which case, I could see a lot more Frankie Louvu getting closer to the line of scrimmage, rushing the passer. He had a great performance last week. I think he had like a tackle for a loss or a couple tackles for a loss.
He did. He had a good week.
Just fantastic. So you have to pick one and fade the other. So I'm fading Shaq Thompson.
Okay. And Joe's pick in big letters, Jeffrey Simmons, did not record a single stat.
That was my fade last week. I told you not to play him.
He did.
He didn't record a single statistic. Not a sack, not a tackle, not a pass deflection, nothing. He literally had a goose egg in the stat column. Now, I should retire and just never, ever give my opinion again after this past week, because
you can't get any better.
Because I missed on one guy, and it was Alex Singleton. I missed on one guy. For the record, I didn't think Jeffrey Simmons would have 0 points. Let me get that straight. I said he's not going to get a sack, and he'll probably have a couple of tackles. Dude did nothing. Now, that's going to change this week. He will have a good week against the Raiders. Derek Carr likes to hold on to the football, and they've been peppering Josh Jacobs, so I think Simmons will have enough opportunity to be able to tackle him down, have enough opportunity. Where I'm going this week is I'm going to the defensive backfield, and I'm saying this because I just have this weird feeling that I need to talk people off ledges sometimes. Last week on No Punt Intended, I told people, cut the shit with Robbie Anderson. He's not good. Okay, ignore the 75-yard touchdown. He's not good at football. DJ Moore is the guy you want. Robbie Anderson ends up wide receiver 81. DJ Moore scores a touchdown. So here we are on the defensive side of the football with Jamel Dean. Jamel Dean is not good at football. I cannot stress that enough. He is a bad football player. Some would even stretch to say terrible football player. Okay. Remember how the Bucs secondary has been the bane of their existence the last 3 seasons?
No, sure.
You want to know who's been there the last 3 seasons? Jamel Dean. He's not good. He is simply there because he's cheap and weirdly can make a couple plays at random points. Also, he had 2 interceptions against the quarterback who threw 30 for 30, and that's 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions, Jameis Winston. So Jamel Dean is not good at football. He is built like to me, I look at him and I just see a guy who looks like if you were to create him in Madden, like as a safety, but like he's not 6'3", he's like 5'11", and he runs really awkwardly, doesn't wear any gloves because he's a badass, but at the same time his overall rating's like a 62. So that's how I see Jamel Dean, kind of like a Ronald McDonald.
Wow.
He's just not good. I don't think he's good. I can't stress enough. I don't think he's good. And he had a good week last week. He had a top 10 week last week because of his 2 interceptions.
Right.
He won't even be inside the top 30 this week. He is like, you should not touch him. If you had even an inkling of picking him up, drop him. If you had him on your team before, congratulations, you got him on the best week of the season. Drop him. Like, there's no reason to have this guy on your roster unless you're in like a 32 team league and you are required to have 5 safeties on your team and Jamel Dean's your 4th safety. There's no reason to have this guy on your team. I think he's terrible. I think Green Bay is going to get shut down by the front 7. The secondary is going to have nothing to do with it. Rodgers just going to throw a lot of incompletions and Jamel Dean's going to be irrelevant. Devin White is out of control through the first 2 games. He fell on draft boards because last year he had a bad year. People took him as LB1, LB2. He finished, I believe, as linebacker 11 overall, probably even lower, depending on your league scoring. He is a top 3 linebacker right now. Not just in football, in fantasy football. He has been unbelievable. Jamel Dean's a safety. Safeties thrive off of bad linebacker play. When your 2 linebackers in front of you are Levante David and Devin White, you cannot thrive off of bad linebacker play. Marcus Williams is playing great, 1, because he's a ball-hawking safety, but 2, when he needs to make a play, Patrick Queen's not making it. Devin McCourty's always been a solid safety because he's not crowding the line of scrimmage, but when it inevitably gets through Juwan Bentley, Devin McCourty's there to clean it up. He's just a consistent guy. So Jamel Dean just not able to do anything. You get him on his good week. You have to find that 2 interception random ass week that he has. He's terrible. I'm talking people off the Jamel Dean ledge. This kind of.
Do you agree with all this?
Yeah, you bring up a lot of great points, and I think let's go with the last thing you mentioned about the fluke interceptions. Folks, Trayvon Diggs and his 7 interceptions in a row last week is the exception, is the anomaly, is not something you should base your picks on when you're selecting who's going to be in your defensive back spot. Okay, you can't do that. You can't use interceptions as a sticky set to say, well, this guy had interceptions this week, so he's going to do well again. No, that is not how this works. You have to go over what plays are more likely to happen. Are tackles more likely to happen, or is an interception more likely to happen? Is a pass breakup more likely to happen versus interception? I believe so. One cornerback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Carlton Davis, he led the league, I want to say, from like 19 to 21, or was it 17 to 20 in pass breakups. For fantasy pro scoring, that's 1.5 points per pass breakup. This guy was targeted often because early on in his career, quarterbacks were able to get completions when they were throwing his way. And then eventually he stepped up his game, still was able to get those pass breakups when targeted. Jamel Dean can't even do that.
He's so bad.
Like he might as well just not be there and he should be standing next to the wide receiver, and he should tell the wide receiver at the line of scrimmage, you know what, just stand next to me and I'll just let you catch the ball. That is what you're getting with Jamel Dean. 100% agree with you there. And here's the thing. They brought in Logan Ryan, from the Giants during the offseason, and he can cycle in at cornerback. He can cycle in at safety. It makes you wonder, depending on how well or how not well Dean plays going forward, whether or not you're going to see some rotation where they bring Logan Ryan in to kind of, give him a break, quote unquote, permanently for the season. I think it's only a matter of time before you see that. I like it. Dude. Very good pick. Very good picks. His
backup is D. Delaney. If you've ever seen D. Delaney play football, he's worse.
You haven't? Come on. You haven't seen D. Delaney play football? Dude. That is a lot of sarcasm I'm throwing your way, by the way.
I'm like, come on now.
They have 5 corners on their roster. Antoine Winfield, for some reason, is listed as a nickelback, according to our lads, which just means he plays in the box. He's a safety.
Yeah.
Logan Ryan's listed as a free safety because he's 97 years old and can't play cornerback anymore.
He can, you know what he can do? He can tackle. And for IDP,
he's great at tackling. Mike Edwards, Keanu Neal, strong safeties. It amazes me Keanu Neal's still in the league with how many injuries he's had.
Right.
They have 5 corners. Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis. Those are your 2 starting corners. The record, Carlton Davis, also not great, just ends up having good weeks. D. Delaney, terrible. Zion McCullum, 5th round pick this year. And then Sean Murphy Bunting, who cannot play outside. He can only play in the slot. And even in the slot, he's not good. Yes. Did he have an interception in every playoff game when they won the Super Bowl? Yes. Did Joe Flacco also throw 11 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in the playoffs?
Yes.
Also, yes. We said this yesterday on No Pun Intended. Bad players can have good games.
Right.
Nick Foles holds the record for most touchdown passes in a game and best touchdown to interception ratio in a season.
Yep.
He sucks. Like, bad players can play well. Jared Goff made it to a Super Bowl.
Right.
He's not good. So, and this going off of, I think Tua is going to absolutely blow this week. I think he throws like 2 interceptions and gets sacked 15 times because he played a really good defense week 1, sucked. Bad defense week 2, destroyed them. Oh my
Shocker.
God! Wow,
Right.
it's
crazy.
almost like if we looked at the matchup, ladies and gentlemen, that was supposed to happen.
No,
God, I hate people overreacting.
You know, going back to your Dean pick.
Is Jamel Dean still on people's rosters at this point?
I don't think he ever was. I hope he
better not be.
I hope he never was.
Roxanne, this is, again, I didn't want to put him here because it did feel like a cop-out. But I saw people pick up Robbie Anderson after week 1.
Okay.
So I need to talk people off
clarify
the ledge.
things.
I need to tell them you're wrong. Okay? I need to tell them just save yourself the pain. If you're in a fab league, save yourself the fab. There's no reason. Tell me how many teams had Elijah Mitchell on it last year and they won their league. None of them. Literally none of them.
Let me step back from what I said as far as like nobody has them. I think you might see a lot of people out there who are novices to IDP think Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a consistent wide receiver target. And you look at the last time the Packers took on the Buccaneers, which is the NFC Championship. Like, they blanketed all those wide receivers. You know, Devontae Adams could not even get his in that game. I'm going to go after all the defensive backs for Tampa Bay and try and play the odds that I'm going to get the Aaron Rodgers interception.
Well, how about this?
That's what I'm thinking, right? Or they saw what he did last week and they're desperate and they're like, well.
Right.
You could even look at novice players, and Darius Slay was a top 5 DB last week. Do you want to know how many tackles he had? He had 1 tackle.
1? Yeah, wow.
He had 1 tackle, but he had 5 pass deflections and 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
Like, that's why he had 1. That's unheard of. He had 1 tackle and was a top 5 defensive back. That's unreal. That's not going to happen again. Like, you cannot gamble on the big plays every single week. That's literally playing Sammy Watkins every single week in his prime and hoping he gave a week 1 performance in week 8. Like that, it's just not going to happen. It doesn't happen. It's not going to happen. Play the consistency and you'll be totally fine. So Jamel Dean, not consistent.
You know, you bring up another good point here, and that is, I hope people listening and watching have like an appreciation for, the analysis that we all put in here when we're talking about players to pick, because you just mentioned it. 2 interceptions, a pass defense, got them into the top 5. But, you add a tackle here and there, you add a pass deflection here and there, and you can go from the DB 25 to the DB 4. You can go from maybe not that extreme, but you get my point. There's like 1 or 2 plays can totally shift up a defensive player and IDP up their rankings for fantasy point finishes. So, I think we can all be pretty proud of ourselves. And Nate also, when he comes back this week, or next week rather, that trying to find the right opportunities out there for defensive players is hard. And the fact that I feel, have been making really good picks so far this season is attributed to how much work we're putting in for the IDP research here, and I think we're killing it, folks.
I do too.
LFG, what a way to end the show. Great
Hey,
job.
but can I ask you guys a favor? Can I get your picks Wednesday nights before you go to bed? And all this information. Because I went to bed at like 2:00 this morning. I'm like, I have no names, I have nothing. And then by the time I get to work and then get home, I don't have time to do anything.
That was my fault. I totally take the blame for that one. You will have them.
Thank you.
You will have them
Tuesday.
You will have them Tuesday.
Yeah, she had my picks at 4:00 Central Time today, so that's on me.
So, okay,
that's
we're
on
all
me.
just a little discombobulated this week. It'll be better next week.
Yeah, that is on me. But
we're getting in the groove. We're doing good. We're doing good.
I agree, and I think your guys' picks are amazing through 2 weeks. And I think with your knowledge and what we do, people should be listening to you going forward and paying attention.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Bring us home, Roxanne.
All right. This has been the latest episode of Are You Down with IDP from Club Fantasy and Fantasy and Frames. Make sure you're following Fantasy and Frames on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fantasy and Frames. And be sure to check out their website, fantasyandframes.com, for all your IDP needs. And don't forget, they do Dynasty Redraft and DFS too. You can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. DFS player props, sports betting, and our start sit column. Confidence plays begin hitting the site as early as tomorrow.
Yeah.
For Nate on Twitter, he is at Nate Marcum. Joe Zollo at Joe_Zollo. Jorge at Jorge B. Edwards with some capitals in there.
Yeah.
And I am at F Queen Roxanne. The F and Q are big. Thanks for joining us tonight with You Down with IDP. And always remember, offense wins fantasy, but defense wins fantasy championships.
Heck yeah.
See you guys next week.
We'll see everyone next week.